experience has definitely been with my current partner. Mainly because now I've only been having sex with her for this whole time. Yeah. So I have a lot of experiences, and there's no way. But I'm trying to like single out a one. It's probably when we like first started dating in the beginning, there was a night where we literally had sex all night, like, and we worked together at that time, and so we did not sleep at all, like not even a wink of sleep. Like we just literally had sex all night, and I all night, like all night, and it was all good. Like, you know how when you have sex, like try to have sex multiple times, like you get dry, like a lot of times you get dry eventually, and it's just like or sometimes you like have mushy and it's just like there's just like a lot of, there was none of this, was like all night I kept, and we like went to work together the next day, and I think that's what like made it more, because we were just like looking at each other like like girl, and we were tired as like both our eyes were so low and so red, but it was just like we were on like this high of making love. Right. So that's just one that like, that's literally just one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, what a blessing.
But it's definitely not with I can't really even try and think of like I'm literally was trying to think of like a bomb ass experience with with a dude, I'm sorry, or whatever, a penis owner, and there's not one.
No. Yeah. I don't even know if I could do best. I feel like
let's just go by the orgasms. I feel like that's what I had to go by. Like, how many times did you orgasm? And then maybe that, you know?
Because in my head, I was like, I have like a most like mischievous. I have like a most times I have like a most like challenging and I learned something. I have like, you know, like best drunk sex kind of thing. But I don't know if I have like an overall tens across the board best.
And not even with a woman.
That's what I'm trying to like go into the vault and really think deeply. And because I feel like the majority of the sex that I've had with women, besides like in the very beginning, was with like who weren't really gay, and they like wanted to me because it was like a cool thing to do. So we weren't actually like catching any kind of vibes. It was just like, this is something I can talk about the next day kind of a thing. So no, I mean, I had an all girl orgy that was like fire as but even that was like weird. I don't know. But that wasn't fire ass. That was, so maybe I would choose that if I'm going with, but if I'm going with most orgasms, it was definitely my second ex in college. And he learned how to do what is it called? A raspberry? When you go, he figured out to do that on my, and that is not a feeling that I had ever experienced before, nor had he ever done before. I don't even know how he figured it out. I think he was just doing some goofy, jokey and then I was like, yeah. And then and I literally like 15 times in like a span of like 10 minutes because it was just, you know how when you use your vibrator, we've talked about this, and you either like it gets too intense, you gotta take it off, or if you push through that intense, then you again. Right. And it's really like that, except I didn't have control over the removing it because it was him just doing it, which literally made it just back to back to back to back to back. That's the only time I've ever had like multiple orgasms like that, like simultaneously. And some of it wasn't even with like a, you know how sometimes you and it's like, okay, you got to work back up, and even if it doesn't take long, it literally like it would take a while to get to the first one, but then it would be like boom, 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 like just in a row. like,
and did you enjoy that?
Yes, I felt like, yes. It literally felt amazing, and I felt like immobilized after. Like, I couldn't move my body, and like I couldn't hear, and it was a lot. Yes, it was and no one has ever been able to recreate that.
See, that's how I feel like. That's why I asked if you enjoyed it, because I feel like sometimes if I come very hard, like back to back to back like that, I don't even, sometimes it kind of can take away from the enjoyment because of, like you said, the after. Like, I feel so, like, literally like somebody just took everything out of me, and I can't move. I can't, like, I can't see. I can't, like, for that moment, I literally, and it, depending on what it is, I can be stuck for like a minute. Like I'm just stuck. And I don't like when I can't feel my legs. Like, I don't like when everything is so tight that I cannot feel anything. And that's kind of like stressful to me sometimes. Like, it's just like a stress. Like, I would love to get up and just even slightly move to the other side of the bed. But like, you're just gonna have to give me a second because I cannot even move. Yes,
I liked it. And it was very, but it was also like a feeling that I had never, I had definitely had, I had orgasms before from getting, but it was like regular, like some once, and that's it. And so I had never had that sensation. And it wasn't like, it was like a vibrator in that it was like this continuous kind of feeling, but it wasn't like a vibrator. And it just was like some off the wall shit. So yeah, that was a wild time. And I think that in part I stayed with that as long as I did.
Because he could do that.
Yeah. You were chasing your high.
Literally. Exactly. It was like an addiction thing. Yeah. Not literally, but like exactly. Like you get that and you're like, I want to do that again. Yeah. So probably
that's even a crazy feeling too, of like knowing
what it can.
What am I trying to say? Like, you know, like how you're like good, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a good orgasm and you just have like, and you know what I mean? Like, there's like a difference when you're like, I like, and that sucks when you're masturbating. Mainly, that's what I think about the most. Like, when you're masturbating and you feel it and you're almost like, oh, it's almost, and then it's just not the orgasm that you wanted. Oh, that's the
or when you're masturbating and you want that long, nice orgasm, and it's like 30 seconds and you already, it's like, I wasn't ready. Like, I had candles lit. I'm over here trying to love myself right now, and like, it's 30 seconds, a minute. Like, no, I wanted like a good little 5-10 minutes. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So annoying.
We should have Leah on the show, because she does like tantric sex. She teaches that, and in the sacred sensuality class that she's teaching through Zep, she told us that if we breathe in a certain way while we're having an orgasm, it will be that like elongated full body kind of thing every time we do it. And I was like, well, I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah, bring her the
here, because I just bought a book on tantric sex.
There you go.
I just bought a book on that.
I actually just signed up for a sex magic webinar for tomorrow, so
learn something.
I have tips.
Yeah. It does suck when you like building up and then it's just
right. It's not intense at all. You're like, I just wasted a whole like,
or
doing something else.
You sit there trying to get it back, and you're just like, and
it's not like,
and then you can't even get the like, nothing works after that because you're so disappointed. So like, it just doesn't work, and then you have to stop, and then it's just like, oh, this is whatever. Yeah, sucks. I actually haven't masturbated in a minute.
Me neither. But do you feel like your orgasms are more intense when you masturbate or when you're with the partner?
Masturbate.
I didn't even know that I could orgasm until I started masturbating. I had no idea that because I can't from penetrative sex like that. It's very rare for me to from that. Sometimes I can, but he has to have like a really big and like know how to use it correctly. But like for a long time, I had no idea. Until I started until I bought a vibrator and I started using it, and I just from that, I was like, I had never experienced that. I'm like, I've been wrong my whole life. Like, what the hell? Like,
But you know what? I actually may have to retract that because I feel like now, once again, being with my partner for so long, she knows like exactly like what to do. And sometimes I'll be a little pissed off because she'll go straight to it and be like, come on, just give me a second. But, and then sometimes it makes me feel like when I'm masturbating, I do need her. And like, with being with a woman, it's kind of like we have to use toys and, you know, stuff all the time anyway. So I feel like it's kind of like best of both worlds where, but I really enjoy like I the hardest when I have a vibrator on my and something inside of me, preferably her fingers, honestly, because like I said, she knows exactly where to go. And that is definitely the best orgasm I have now. And so sometimes when I am masturbating, I think that is what I want, that orgasm, and then I can't get that.
Yeah.
Even if I can't penetrate myself. I can't. That doesn't turn me on.
You don't got the same arm positioning. Like you can't. Like physically.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me at all. That's solely for content. Solely.
No, I definitely think for me that my orgasms are stronger with a partner, and I can make myself hard and it feels good and I know what to do for sure. Yes. And I know that it's going to happen, but there's something about somebody else doing it and me. I just feel like the feeling of getting your and you're just on your back, comfortable with your legs just like spread wide open and you're just in it. Like, I just feel like there's nothing better than that. It is hard to top that for me. It's just straight boom, boom, there it is. And I'm not doing like I'm literally just nothing tops that.
I love not doing anyway.
Like, period. No, because even when you're masturbating, it's like, I don't know. It's just
masturbating is definitely work. You gotta find the right position.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's definitely work. But I don't see. Well, my current sex partner, I will say, like, I do enjoy sex with him a lot. He does love to, so that's great. But I don't know. Like, this is really the first time I've enjoyed getting my by a man, like, ever.
Well, that's a
so. But
shout out to him.
I would still rather would masturbate. I don't know, because I feel like sometimes, like, I just take too long to. I feel like he gets tired and he's like, damn, like, you know, and then I'm like, just whatever, you know. But with myself, I can take as long as I want to take, and who's gonna say anything? So
you be in your head sometimes.
Yeah, because I'm like, why am I taking? Because it does feel really good, and like when I masturbate, I really don't take that long time at all.
No.
So it's weird how like when he it very good, but then sometimes it will take forever for me to, and it's like, why is it taking so long?
How long is forever? Is forever like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? What is long forever?
I don't know. I've never actually like counted, but I know that it just feels too long for me. Like, I don't know. Because I'm just used to, like, when I masturbate, I don't take that long when I masturbate, you know? So I feel like I'm like measuring the same, like, I should just at the same time if I were to masturbate type shit.
I wonder if it also feels longer because it's not you doing the work. Because I feel like start timing and see. Because I would be curious to see. I feel like for me, I can make myself like 2-3 minutes. But if it's 2-3 minutes of somebody, it's gonna feel like 15 minutes because I'm gonna be like, they're working.
That's so true.
They're doing something. I'm taking forever, but really, it's literally been that same 2-3 minutes. I just feel.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying I wonder, and I'd be curious to see if it really is longer and or if it is long. Because even if it's like 5-10 minutes, that's not really long. You know what I mean? But it feels long, especially when we're in our head, like, all right, he probably think I should be. I'm not, you know, because I used to be like that too. And it used to stop me from actually, like, I used to have a harder time having an orgasm because whenever I was doing something, I would get in my head like, I should be hurrying up, or I should be making more noise, or all of the shoulds and supposed tos would literally just block me. And now I do not give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if you're, also I feel like people are intelligent to stop when they feel like it. So my thing is like, we are gonna go until I'm or until you get tired. And if you get tired, we're gonna figure out a different way for me to. But I don't know. It's like I've just refused. Something like clicked at one point where I recognized that I just need to get the over that being in my head, because when I did, then I like really got to feel it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was literally like embarrassed, and or like it's awkward, or oh, I should hurt, and it's like, damn, I'm not even, and then you do actually fast because you're actually present and you're not preoccupied, and then you do like, oh, because now, and this is very surprising to me, especially thinking of like history and not being good at anything, but now it's like I can really just like play with my for a couple of minutes or for a couple, and I'm hard because I am
just let go.
Yeah, I'm not in la la land thinking about whatever anymore. I'm literally right up in this and I'm like, oh, man, it just feels great.
Yeah. I've been in my head about and I haven't in a long ass time, and it's like I used to uncontrollably, like not whenever, but most of the time when I had an orgasm, I would and I don't even remember last time that I've had like a good, when I say good, like potent, like my has been very like, you know, just trickle. It's a trickle. It hasn't been like, and I drink a lot of water and I do all of that, you know, and especially like for content making purposes, like since I've had an OnlyFans, I haven't been able to have a good ass, like I'm trying to get this money and I can't, like, and I cannot have a good ass. Can't.
So you feel pressure to even when you're by yourself?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, and I don't know, and sometimes I feel like it's coming, like I feel like, oh, I'm about to, and then nothing, and then I feel like I get in my head so much like I'm about to, so let's make sure that this is all good enough. And it's like, no, you're not. So I don't know.
I get that way with too. I literally cannot in front of people. Like I have a really hard time. We did a contest in my house, me, Harmony and Brianna, and like normally if I'm by myself, I'm like I can like across the room type, and that like I did a little bit, but it was like you said, like a little dribble. I definitely have stage fright when it comes to for sure, and that's definitely a me being in my head thing, and I haven't been able to learn how to get past that with for the most part, because it's also not a natural body function of mine. Like I'm not a natural, so it is like work, and I have to like, you know, so it's like, but I will say I shot a scene. I'm very proud of myself. I shot a scene where we pretended that I was getting picked up by a Lyft driver, and I in the back of his car. And this was the photographer's friend, but he was a complete stranger to me, obviously. And I did it. I don't know.
I saw that when you took over the live, and he was just like, I feel like he didn't really.
Yeah. I don't think because he was like a white Cuban person probably or something. He was just like innocent, regular kind of a guy, which I didn't know.
Expecting that.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like a black dude, like maybe like peripheral to the porn industry or something, and then it was this random, which actually worked out better because he looked like he'd be a random Lyft driver.
He definitely looked like a random Lyft driver for sure.
Perfect, and I think honestly that might have been part of it. Is like I wasn't attracted to him. It's not like I would have really fucked him, so I wasn't really feeling pressure to like be sexy. I was just like, let's bang out this content.
Yeah. But
other than that, though, I definitely have like stage fright or like performance anxiety.
Yeah, I don't think that I've had it until I had to perform, because it was at least a natural bodily function for me. And I feel like then when I feel like now I need to perform, like I need to, because I'm trying to get this money, I cannot. I can't. But I'll still be working on it.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
Just let the camera record and just masturbate and don't think about that.
That's what I try and do, though. That's literally what I've been trying to do. Just put the camera up and then just like whatever happens. But I can't, and I've tried to I'm like, let me not record. Like, let me not record just so I can get my mojo back or whatever the and like.
Well, even when you're not recording.
Even when I'm not recording, like, it's like I lost my mojo.
I've been able to more now recently. I don't know why. It's weird. But now, like, when I write, I'm a lot.
Really?
It's really weird.
Really?
And it's really only when I write now.
Yeah. Is that because of positioning of the penis and the spot it's hitting?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm controlling it.
Yeah.
And I just get the spot just right. And it's like a lot of
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool though. I don't mind it.
It is. It's cool. But that's the whole thing, is it's pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so cool, it's so fascinating. And even us as people in the industry, it's like, that's what they do in porn. It's like the whole thing. So that's why it's like, oh, this is so exciting. And when you don't do it, it's like, this is such a letdown.
Yeah.
That's exactly why.
Yeah. And I used to be ashamed about it. Like, I literally used to have so much shame about it before. Like, I feel like when I was younger and we weren't talking about sex as much, and like I was embarrassed by the fact that because I used to really only when I masturbated. I never really for or because of a man. Like, I really don't know that I've ever like without masturbating. And I was so ashamed, and I hated that every time I masturbated, because like, who wants to sleep in this? Who wants to deal with this every single time? And it used to happen to me every single time. And so, like I said, once it got to be like something that I felt like I was supposed to do, it just is like, girl, no, you're not doing it no more. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated.
Keep us updated. Keep us updated on length of time.
Yeah, I'm really interested in trying that now. Because I think that's low-key what it is. That because I'm not doing the work, I'm like, just, yeah. It probably isn't even that long at all. And I'm just like, damn, can you hurry up and like make me already? Like, I'm doing this like, what the
Yeah.
Like, get off me.
Hey Siri, set the stopwatch.
Oh, fuck. We never even did like a how are you doing? So this is like and goodbye without ever having doing. How are you feeling?
Well, I think we started off with my period is on, so I'm feeling
I'm pretty much just in pain every day.
Crying a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, my period has me crying a lot. And you know what's weird is that I don't even cry for sad things. Like, sad things are not what makes me cry. It's like the love and the joy, like that.
The
just
heartwarm felt stuff.
Like,
yeah. It's because we're missing that
every time.
It's because we're missing that. It's because we're depressed. So when we see some heartwarming, it really hits home because we're like, damn, is rough right now.
But you know what? I am not though. Like I've said this before, is that like my I feel like my social life and stuff didn't change that much. I still see my homegirls and like a lot. I see them very frequently, and especially now since I started like the podcast with them, I see them and talk to them a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that way,
but you also said, didn't you say, how did you say it? You said something like you feel like you need to go to a therapist because when you think of like your, I don't know if it was childhood, but you said something like, I don't know, like you like, it's everything.
Like I feel like I don't have any trauma at all.
It's trauma.
Like, yeah. That's so true. And I've really been trying also with the spirituality and everything, to do like shadow work and really try and tap into my traumas. And I know that I do have trauma because I feel like when we say trauma, a lot of times we think of like these major events, and they don't have to be that. And I had to take the time to realize that, first of all, is that they don't have to be these like major events. And so like I definitely found things that I am working through, but I don't like to be sad. Like I just don't like to be in that space. I feel like I have been blessed, I guess, for that to just not happen to me very often, or for me to have figured out how to not let things take over me to be like that for long.
I would say that that's a trauma response, like not wanting to be sad and not wanting to sit in sadness. I think that that's a trauma response.
Yeah,
I would say so. I am not your therapist, obviously, but
right.
I would say so. What I would ask a client who says that is thinking about in some period of your life, probably childhood, when that was a function of survival. Like, I can't really be sad for long because of A, B, and C. I don't know what it could be, but maybe that's something you can do shadow work on.
But I literally have, and I cannot come up with anything. Like I cannot come up with anything. I think that I like, once again, I think maybe it's that I've been to myself a lot, like that, like I've been to just myself a lot, and I've just learned that I am the only person that can really control how I feel. No one else can control how I feel. So it's up to me to not feel that way. Like I don't know. Did you do shadow work on that? Like where that came from? Yeah. I mean, I'm doing, and I'm still digging I'm literally digging. I feel like I feel like that is a problem too, that I'm searching for a problem, but I am, and I don't know. I literally just don't know. Yeah. I think I need to be hypnotized. No cap. Like, I think I need to be hypnotized. Maybe, yeah. Because the second thing you said, I would also say, is a trauma response. Like, I am in control of my feelings. Like, it's only me. I have me, myself. Like, that's also like a function of, I had to figure that out at some point. And so here I am doing it now as a coping mechanism. But it's interesting because I don't know what you're looking for, and that might be blocking whatever is there, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like saying to yourself, like, there's gotta be something there. And then it's like, so whatever is there is like, that's not what you're looking for, if that makes sense. Yeah. So there's something there probably with that. But also, doing trauma work and like processing trauma does reveal trauma. So if you were to get a therapist, you could get one that does like EMDR, which is, it's not being hypnotized, but I think it's what you're trying to get at, which is bring up that is repressed. So that would be interesting for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But maybe there is nothing there that's like big and huge, like you said, but maybe it's just smaller things. And maybe it's just not a lot of things. Yeah. Yeah. And also in me looking at all of it, I feel like I'm starting to feel like looking for the problem is, like I said, a problem. Yeah. And so in my shadow work, I'm kind of like, stop like looking for a problem, like, because literally maybe it is nothing. Like, I don't think that I don't deal with my emotions. Like, I don't think that I just cover things up, because that's not what it is. Like, I don't just cover things up. I think that I deal with them, and I've learned how to process them and move forward. And I just think that I've done that for a long time. And I just can't think of when it switched from me being able to just do that on my own. And I feel like that's maybe what I'm looking for, is when I realized that I needed to just, do that on my own, work through, not on my own, but you know what I mean? Just like work through it, process my emotions, figure out why I'm feeling how I feel, and then move forward. Because I just feel like ultimately at the end of the day, we have to move forward. You can't stay in any space. Like, you can't just stay in one spot. You have to move forward. Right. So that's just period.
Yeah, and you have a pretty strong support system, and that is like a huge piece of trauma. Is that most people are experiencing by yourselves, and that makes it worse.
Yeah, for sure. I've never had to do that. Thank God. I've always found, and that could be a problem too, because I be trusting, I be feeling secure with everybody. Like, I feel like I'm secure, but then I process that as like, I'm an open book. I don't have a problem telling you anything because I'm just myself. I'm 100% myself all the time. So I always show the same face to everybody. Right. So I just be feeling like, what I'm saying? Like, girl, yeah, I'm finna tell you how I feel right now because this is how I feel at this moment. You the person that's sitting next to me and you got all the tea.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's possible to not be highly traumatized,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah. I can't relate. I don't know. I feel like I've been traumatized since I was born. Like, it's just like never ending as well. Like, it just does not end.
Yes, correct. Round here, we are traumatized gang.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
And I think that's part of it too, is that there's so much trauma around, I don't know anybody that hasn't dealt with trauma in major, minor, like anybody. So that, I feel like, and that's a lot of times too, is that I'm looking like for the type of traumas that like they had into my situation.
Yeah, and the other thing about that also is that people who do experience like lots of trauma in childhood are more likely to continue experiencing trauma because that's how trauma works. The more trauma you experience, the more likely you are to be re-traumatized. So for people who don't really experience all that trauma, it makes more sense that you're going to experience less trauma unless you experience something like an earthquake or a hurricane or a car accident, right? Like that, which is still traumatizing, right? But it's a little bit different from like, neglect or whatever. So there's also that piece of it is for us who were like for real traumatized in childhood, that set the stage for us to continuously be traumatized, not only because of how it affects our physiology, but also because we make decisions, is the truth. When we are constantly in a state of stress and trauma and fight or flight, we have less ability to discern safety. So we end up making more high-risk decisions. Period.
That's so wild because I really cannot ever think of a moment in my life where I have not felt like that.
Yeah.
Like, just like,
yeah,
always stressed out, always going through something, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's why it builds on itself, which is why you have to stop it. And most of us never stop it. It's just continuous forever.
Yeah.
It is.
And that's America, folks.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And yeah, it really, yeah. Also another thing, and we can probably wrap this up, I guess, but another thing, Lex, do you have like generational trauma or no?
I mean, I'm sure I do, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm African American. Both my parents are American. So like, yes, so 1000%. Being Black in America causes generational trauma off rip. It's there. But
that's the other thing, because I think, and maybe V, this is similar for you, I have hella generational trauma too. So it wasn't just like I was born kind of, and of course all of us have intergenerational trauma just from like being POC, being, whatever, right? But like then the additional it sounds like maybe there's not a lot of additional in your family, Lex. Like, so you weren't really born into this like tradition of trauma either, which also affects your physiology. Whereas like me and V, we was born into years of this. Like we was predisposed to this.
I think that my parents, honestly, because being older and talking to my parents, I definitely see them like a lot different, and I can see their traumas in speaking to them. But I think that they did a good job in trying not to reflect that onto us. And even my parents are divorced, so even when they were going through that, they did a really good job in trying they didn't argue in front of us. They didn't do any of that. And so I just, once again, I was very blessed
Yes.
with my parents, and that they, you know, my mom even tells me, like, she made an effort to not do that because she did see that growing up. And, you know, oh my God, I didn't even tell you guys, like, this awesome, well, it's awesome for me, but my mom just told me that my granddad was gay. I had no idea. I had no idea that my granddad was gay. He died of AIDS. Really? And this was during, you know, the height of like the AIDS epidemic and all of those things. And that reflected on my relationship with my mom and my relationship with my girlfriend, you know. And I was like, wow, now I see why you felt such a way, because, you know, her parents split up because my granddad was gay. Right. And, you know, these are all things that, you know, I can recognize now as an adult that I had no clue of. But, you know,
you should do a genogram, a family tree. That's a really good, a genogram is different from a family tree in that a family tree just shows lineage. Genograms prompt you to point out patterns of things. So like, once you lay out the lineage, you're like, okay, this person was an alcoholic, so were they. Okay, they did drugs, or this person had asthma, this person had diabetes. You see the pattern. Intimate partner violence, and so was that person, that one. Or, you know, that's a good way to look at it too, because that's interesting too, because that's a lineage thing for sure.
Right. So, you know, we all got digging to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any more digging. I'm good.
No more. Are you still seeing your therapist?
No. I definitely want to find like more of a trauma, like that centers on trauma. I love her, but I don't feel like she centers on trauma like that. I feel like she's more just like a
talk therapist.
You know, yeah. But I want someone who's gonna like sit me down and like, we're going back to when you were 6, and we're gonna start from there when you can remember these things and everything, because there's so much.
Yeah, that's what I need.
And I feel like I need someone who can help me with that.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I tell people who are getting into therapy is like, talk therapy is amazing. It's wonderful to build rapport with a therapist. It's good to do skill building around like coping mechanisms, boundary setting, communication, all that shit. And talk therapy will never process trauma the way that trauma work will, because how we store trauma in our brain, just talking about it doesn't process it. So that is a great thing to be thinking, is that you want to see somebody that's like specializes in trauma, because it's different. And you feel different when you process trauma. Like you literally, it's weight lifted off.
Yeah. And you think about patterns, because there's this, I don't know if she's a trauma therapist or I don't know. She is a trauma therapist. And so like every once in a while she does like these group therapy things, but it's only around sex work. So she only allows sex workers to join. So one day I just booked it because I heard so many good things about it. And she did that. She was like, we're going to think about your childhood growing up. What was your relationship like with your parents? So like she made us like write down like, what made you scared about your dad? What made you happy about your dad? How did you feel around your dad? And like, this is okay, now we're gonna think about your very first boyfriend, and we're gonna do the same things. What made you happy about him? What made you scared about him? And she was like, do you see any similarities? And I'm like, half the abusive ass that I dealt with a lot of men that I was with was abusive that my dad did to me. And like, I never like thought about that. Like, I'm just so used to it that I just think it's like normal, but it's like, no, that's not normal. And like, some my dad did was wrong as and I'm still carrying that and accepting that in a lot of my relationships, and I'm letting people cross boundaries that I'm not. That's why I'm always up, because it's like, damn.
Yep.
But that was just very interesting. Like, and we only did it for like an hour. But after I had that session with her, I was like, I need to find someone that I can do this full time with, because there's still so much other that I've been through that I'm pretty sure that I can just. It was just interesting to see that.
Good for her. Do you have do you remember her ad and her information?
Yeah, it was like Queen Got Skills or something like that. She used to be a sex worker herself.
Yeah.
And so now she only does really like therapy for sex workers, and she does like emergency type of stuff for sex workers and stuff like that. So
yeah, the that we experience in our childhood sets the stage for the rest of everything.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing I think that's why I don't want kids, and in me doing my shadow work, these are things that I have noticed, is that it's such a pressure on making an adult. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, having kids, you're making an adult. And so that whole time is so important. And I don't want to nobody up. Like, I don't want to be the reason why some adult is out there being a person because I them up.
Some kid, or being a kid who feels not important and overlooked and whatever else. Like, yeah, you're creating an adult, and that's a little human who's walking around with feelings and all this who we just be them up. And they be little kids who just be sad as with no sense of boundaries, no sense of anything.
Such a pressure to have that. And and being an adult and looking back on those things and thinking about that, I have thanked my parents so much more, because I'm like, wow, like, thank you so much for getting me here, for making me the person, like, because you made me who I am, and I'm so grateful for all of that, because wow, I could have been really up, like, you know, I could have been way worse off. So
yeah,
thank you.
But also, because you have that good foundation, you also have a good foundation for it, versus
Right.
like,
Yeah, that's true.
What the like, what, you know? So you have the help, you got the backup, you got the guidance, and you got the.
You sound like everybody else, girl, and no kids. Okay, it's still it's a no for me. Okay,
no kids, gang, and also for people who are listening, if that is your situation and you do want kids, know that that's the best kind of environment to be bringing kids into, one where your parents actively tried to undo their shit, and you can tap into them for advice when you become a parent, and you're also working on your own shit. That is like the important piece of it, because nobody's going to be a perfect parent. But if you haven't done that shit, and especially if you don't have the wisdom of someone who's already done it, like, yeah, what the are you doing? It's like, what the yeah, what the
yeah.
Parents are just parents.
Facts.
Parents are parents. Like, they are just not what the it is. And it's really some wild ass shit. And you know what? It is what it is. But, you know, parents.
Parents, boy, I tell you, they.
Everybody go to therapy.
Right.
Do your
including the parents. They're the ones who really need to go.
My father needs intense therapy. Like, I wish
they
my
don't
dad
believe
would
in that, and they're the ones who really need it. They really need it bad.
I know. They won't. You tell them that they should, they won't. They don't get it. They don't want to, or they'll do it and like be bullshitting it, or whatever. They won't.
Or get mad. I remember like when I was young, my dad took me and him to therapy. He got mad at me and was like yelling at me at the therapy session. And I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to work. Like, I'm supposed to tell you how I feel. You can't be mad at me because I feel some type of way. Like, so that was the last time he did therapy. Because he was like, oh no, you guys are not, like, he was like, y'all are not going to tell me about myself. We're here for them. We're not here for me. Like, he was dead, like, we're not doing this.
Oh my God. There's a meme and it's like a couple and it's the woman talking to the man and the man is saying to the lady something like, it really hurts my feelings when you tell me how much I've hurt you, or something like that.
Yes. That was my dad. Like, how dare you feel hurt by me calling you a prostitute at 14?
How dare you tell me
in front of police officers? What do you mean? Okay, I whipped you with a belt, but is that really that bad?
Exactly. How dare you tell me that I hurt you by beating you? What?
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
You literally physically hurt me.
Beat me, sir. Like.
Yeah. And it's a hard realization, honestly, because it solidifies what you'll be able to access with your parents. Because if your parents aren't ready or willing or wanting to do that kind of work with themselves, it puts a limit, it puts a cap on your ability to be close to them. Like, I want to be closer to my parents, but they're not ready to do their shit, which means I have to set boundaries with them, or otherwise I'm going to be up in how I engage with them. You know what I mean? Like, if only they were down to do their shit, we could actually be closer and have greater intimacy. But they want to stay in their so we can't be close. Like, bitches, I'm trying to.
And then it's crazy.
The best relationship that I've had with my dad is like when I don't see him and I call him once a week and we talk on the phone for 10 minutes and that's it. Our relationship is amazing. Yep. Let us see each other more than once every 2 weeks, or talk on the phone more than once a week. Then it's like all hell breaks loose, and it's like, that's not okay. Like, we need to have a better relationship. But like with him, it's just, he just got too much and I'm not trying to deal with that. Like, I'm just not.
I was just gonna say, and even like in setting the boundaries, especially with your parents, it causes such a stress even on you. Like, you're trying to do good for yourself by setting the boundary, but then it causes such a stress because it's like they're your parents or they're your family members, they're your sister, they're your brother, they're your cousin, and they're like, oh, you don't want to talk to me? That's your family. We're supposed to deal with each other through thick and thin, and it's like, no, like, you really, I can't do that. Like, for myself, I cannot do that. I cannot surround myself with that. I have to take myself away from that, and that is a stressor on top of that.
Which is another reason why a good support system and a great therapist who does trauma work is the key, because essentially you just got to deal with what that feeling is, if it's guilt or whatever the else, and then you go lean on your friends and your chosen family, and then you go process trauma with your therapist, and it's better.
That's true.
Because otherwise you just don't carry that. Like, I feel like that's what I'm dealing with now, is like, I feel a way about boundaries that I've set. So instead of me putting that in, like, giving it energy and talking about it with my mom, I'm going to go talk about it with my therapist and process it in a healthy space so that I can actually feel better about it. And then, you know, debrief with whoever else. But because I can't.
But then how do you go back to your mom, right? It's because, like, you did the work.
Yeah.
But
because like you did the work, and then going back to them, it's like you didn't do the work, you know, so then it's like I can't. Like, I just can't.
I don't. I literally, some of my boundaries with my parents are hard boundaries, meaning that they're probably not going to change. And if they are going to change, it's based on their behavior, and their behavior won't change. So it's going to be what the fuck it is.
Right.
I am not going to engage with you in this. I set a boundary with my mom, and I told her, I'm stepping back from this relationship based on some of your behavior. I would like for it to be different, and that's based on what you're going to be doing. If you're going to change in this way, it will change. If you do not, then it will not.
Right.
Boundary.
That's it.
It also puts the ball in her court. You know what I mean? It's like, is you finna change or is you not? And if
right.
Not, we are. And of course, I feel sad about it, and I feel guilt because I set a boundary with my mom, and blah, 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 and I feel sad because it's lonely and I don't have a mom and whatever else. But pivot to therapist,
right?
Because there are people who they want to keep that drama going because it feels like a relationship. You know, that feels like intimacy. But yes. I'm not at that place anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do the back and forth. I don't want to do the, well, we're fighting, but I love, it's like a relationship. It's like a romantic relationship. I don't want to do that. I set the boundary. You know what the it is. Here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's what the it is. And the whole point also is that we don't learn how to set boundaries. So when we're adults and we're trying to do that, it feels
wrong. Like,
horrible.
Yeah. It's like, why am I doing this, you know? Yeah. But it's like necessary. Like it's literally necessary, or their behavior will continue.
Yeah.
And then it'll just pass on to you, and then you'll pass it on to somebody else, and you're gonna keep projecting onto other people, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yes, and not only will their behavior not change, your own behavior won't change. Because sometimes you gotta set boundaries with yourself, you know? Like, I don't think of it so much with my mom, but when I think about it with like men, there are certain things that I know I do that keep that I'm maintaining something. Like
Yeah.
I'm co-creating something at this point. I cannot sit here and say that it's just it's I'm also, even if it's just I'm staying, right? Even if I'm here and I'm listening, I'm engaging, that's me doing some that's maintaining it. So if I have a boundary that I'm literally not doing this more, that's a boundary for me. Raquel, Rachel, you need to step, because otherwise you're now contributing. Like, so there's like both parts. It's like setting a boundary with that person and you're either going to listen or you're not. So then, okay, I need to set a boundary with myself then. If this does A, B, and C, I'm going to walk away and I got to stick to that. Otherwise, I'm going to be going against my own values, my own personhood, my own safety, my own well-being. And then I'm going to go talk to my friend and be like, oh, this, but I was the one, you know what I mean? I maintained it at that point.
Yep.
Boundaries, bitch.
Boundaries.
It is a hard life lesson to learn later in life.
We growing the up, ladies. Growing the up. That's it. We really growing up. Like that's just, and we're like really growing up. Like we're not just getting older. You know what I'm saying? Like we're growing up and doing the work that it takes to be a good person, and like be a good person to yourself, be a good person to the world, like to literally you cannot be a good person to anybody else until you learn how to be a good person to yourself. And setting boundaries, I feel like is that is how you do it. Like that is how you do it. You have to set boundaries.
There are so many situations that I look back on and I know that they would not have went how they went had I set a boundary either with them or with myself.
Yep.
Period. Like I can think of at least like 10 situations just off the top of my head where it's like I knew, and if I would have did this, or if they wanted them to do this, it wouldn't have ended up the way it did, but I didn't, and so it exploded.
Agreed.
I need all my scammer niggas, bring that cash out.